Sorry, just for the purposes of the podcast, we're welcome to the podcast. I don't know which number this one is. Graham Dickson.
Pleased to meet you.
What? We never ever do that.
Of course we do.
We've never ever done that.
We have.
have now.
Look back at previous podcasts. We have.
Never done that.
We
We've
have.
like taken a break in a really nice conversation.
Sorry. Carry on, guys.
Can we have a conversation now? We like to
Yeah,
carry
come on. Let's
How did you
carry
get
on with
from,
the conversation.
or what led you from farming into playing music?
Well, I've always originally when I was teens up to 18, I always fancied being in a band. Had a bit of a bash at it. Didn't work out. Gave up. Started playing the bass to be in a band. Never worked out. Didn't learn it. Gave up. And I never really came back to music till I was in my mid-40s. Really. I'm in my mid-50s
Drew you back
now.
then, eventually.
Well, I did eventually. Yeah, I came. Well, for background, obviously, my father was into classical music and into country, and country was about the only thing I could stand to listen that he played. So I've always been drawn to country, but yeah, going back to the teens and one thing that more interested in I like storytelling. Mm-hmm. Songs that tell stories,
Folk.
Songwriters that
Country.
tell stories. So
Yeah.
in up to 18, 19-year-old, Meatloaf,
Yeah.
Stories. The songs tell the story.
Chris de
Burgh
for his generation.
Chris de
though.
Burgh
Chris
as
de
well.
Burgh, yeah. Chris de Burgh's a
Tell
good-
stories.
Yeah, tell stories. Yeah.
So I was always sort of interested in that. But then, of course, 80s was my era.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in the 60s, the mid-60s, so 80s was my era as a teenager.
Big hair, bangles, and all that malarkey? Oh,
No.
He doesn't look like a man. You do look like a man who would have big hair and bangles.
I would have liked to have been a new romantic, but
No.
I was never going to have a bash at that.
If you were living on a farm, I don't think
but,
there's any way your parents would have allowed you to be a new
probably not. No.
Fuck that. He's not being.
If I'd come home looking like a goth with tattoos, I think I'd have been kicked out.
Yeah. You ain't staying on this farm,
or
lad.
severely beaten anyway.
Yeah.
So
What I was going to ask was what era countries was your dad into?
The old classics, Dolly Parton, Kenny
Johnny
Rogers,
Cash, that kind of stuff,
the real runs. Not so much probably Johnny Cash. He was probably more into the female country singers of those eras, Tammy Wynette and such as that. So, but he was heavily into classical. He used to sit and play classical for hours and hours on end.
Vinyl?
In those days, they started on vinyl and then ended up on tapes, which when he passed away, I inherited a lot of tapes, heck of a lot of tapes, which they don't last that long.
I just find it weird they went from like the beautifuln's of vinyl, like the beautiful sound of vinyl, to tapes, which is just shit. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
How is there any other like now we've just got digital? Maybe had CDs. Tapes are just crap.
And tapes can fuck up really easily. The amount of tapes that I had, or like the ones where you could record stuff on, the amount that I had where you ejected and you end up pulling out all this tape that's just got tangled in the insides.
First car I ever had was an old Escort, a Mark II Escort estate.
Mark II Escort. Oh,
I mean,
you bastard.
it was gold as well.
Oh,
It was actually painted gold.
Pull up a
That
gold
would
Mark
have
II,
definitely
Katrina.
suited, like, goth hairstyle.
And I love that vehicle, but I had a
yeah,
cassette
great
player in there that chewed up most of my tapes. But,
It's it is funny that the tapes are. I mean, they're so bad, but I got so many fond memories. Like listen to the radio. Record.
Yeah, and you try
top
and stop
40,
it just
you
as soon as they
40.
start speaking. Ah, shit, I missed it again.
Yeah, all the charts, we used to sit there recording all the charts
yeah. When used to do
on a
that?
Sunday and
Yeah.
the hit knockdown and
Have Sunday dinner, then listen to the charts and record it. There's probably you said you're in your 50s, you're in your 40s, I'm in my 30s, so there's 20 years between us. All do the same thing on a Sunday.
It's strange, isn't it?
I'm not even from round here. I'm from Bristol, so we're not
things don't change really, do they?
Not massively,
Not
no.
no.
Well, apart from now, you can just get everything on bloody YouTube, whatever.
Well, it
you
is,
don't have to go recording
Spotify,
anything.
YouTube, you name it.
What
It's all.
What is interesting is like speaking to Belle earlier. She was like, she's into Elvis, and I know Eve's into Elvis, and she's like 26. So it's just interesting. I'm into Elvis. I'm in my 30s, and I know Dudley's a little bit into Elvis, but maybe not as much as I am.
I think it was a very big influence.
But I think everyone, music today.
I don't really know anybody that doesn't like Elvis.
It's hard not to like.
Whether you like the man or not, there's some record or some recording that he did that you do like.
But he
and it
transcended
still
so many
stands
genres.
the test today. When you hear the song today, it sounds better than a lot of the crap that's shoved in our faces. You know, that's the beauty about like legends like that and bands like that. You know, when you play them today in this day and age, they still stand up with everything. Maybe not so much to the young uns. Obviously, Bell's an exception. But yeah, it's and that's what I like about music. You know, it does. If it's something good, it will stand the test of time.
I mean, I did 4 years in until going on my own. I did 4 years in a cover band, lead singer in a covers band, and you have to put an Elvis number in.
Oh yeah, I always do Elvis. Yeah.
You know, Caught in a Trap, whatever. You had to put something in there, and any pub you go in, they love it. They do love it.
And that's it. You know, especially when you're playing a lot of covers. If you're in a covers band, you have to pick your songs which you know are going to get people going.
Yeah.
I always do Devil in Disguise because it's got the bit where they can sing it back to you. So just give a bit of audience. I mean, I don't do much. I occasionally do a solo gig where I do covers. We don't really do that many covers together. But if he's not available and I do a solo one, I do mainly covers because I don't really know how to do our songs solo.
Yeah.
But I'm not really into doing covers. But when it's very rare. It's like maybe once a year, twice a year I'll do solo. I always really, secretly really enjoy it. You know? I don't know what I'm saying secretly for. I just spoke on a podcast, admitting it to people who are listening.
It depends what you do, because I'm a beggar for chucking in 500 miles. Don't matter where you go.
Everyone loves that.
You
Everyone
need a bit of cheese. Unfortunately, you need a bit of cheese.
I won't do Sweet Caroline, though. I don't care how many people ask me. I ain't ever doing Sweet Caroline.
All right. Well,
sorry.
No, never done it, sir.
I thought you were going to go, all right, I will play that one then next year.
Although we've just started another band up and they're wanting to do it, and the rest of the blokes are wanting to do it. But we'll see on that.
What's that band called?
We're called the Woodside Wingers.
The Woodside Wingers.
You played at Woodstock this time, didn't you?
No. Not this year.
They never book us.
We did last year.
They never seem to want us, do they? We always get in touch. They never seem to want us.
I never got in touch with them this year because we played.
Sorry, Woodstock.
We played the Jolly Sailor back in
June.
It was about February, March. And I just thought it was a little bit too soon to be playing the area again because obviously we didn't have that much in the way of like new material. But obviously now we've kind of like we've got a bit.
Well, that's what we're trying to do with the band. I mean, we literally. Put this band together between 4 of us, and we had 3 practices, and then did 40 minutes at the Jolly Sailor for Woodstock on the Friday.
Oh, nice.
And it went down quite well. Not many people in there. Most of the followers were ours, but
that's all right.
Well, that's it. You got to bring people along with you sometimes, you know.
But for a third time, 3 practices and then in. It went too well. It went quite well actually.
So is your earliest like memories of music with your dad then, you know, listen to country?
There would be originally, and obviously until we got into the 80s, and then I still say the 80s were an era of 10 or 12 years of some of the best music that's ever been made.
I can't disagree with you more. It's my least favourite period of music.
But it was a mixture of all your old stars, your Elton John's coming up and doing stuff, your new stuff coming up. I'm a big OMD fan. Always Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark.
Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark.
I've never heard of them.
They played the Barbican 3 years ago.
What's one of the most popular songs?
Souvenir, Joan of Arc.
I know Joan of Arc, yeah.
Oh,
so what I would say about the 80s is that it's my least favourite era of music, but with the caveat, I feel in the 80s there were some absolute bangers, but there was a lot of shit to go with it. Whereas the 90s
when
for
the
me,
synth pops became popular.
The 90s for me is just bang off. But I think it's just what you grow up with. Because I only, I don't hear that much 80s. So because I was at 85, my mum was always into older stuff.
Yeah.
My dad just liked John Denver. That was pretty much it. That was
nothing wrong with John Denver.
That was his musical influence on me. Zilch. And But yeah, so I think just the era you grew up in. There are, I mean, looking back now, there are some bangers in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
Like I love the Cure, I love Smiths. You know.
Well, I was sort of probably a bit of a hangover from the 70s as well because I
Yeah.
love Status Quo. They were a
Lots
big
of
band. Status Quo and Queen,
Queen are great.
Yeah.
which my claim to fame is that I did see Queen play with Freddie Mercury when I'd have been 18, 19 at Newcastle.
Is that a claim to fame if you just watched them?
Well, no. We went went to see Queen live.
Yeah.
And everybody goes, oh, well, you have to go see Queen nowadays, but it's not the same. It's not Freddie Mercury. Queen was Freddie Mercury.
that's true,
Yeah.
So to have been and seen Status Quo live, followed by Queen with Freddie Mercury as lead singer.
What sort of year was that?
That'd be, grief, you'd be looking 84, 85, something.
So
somewhere around
Queen
about then,
just
yeah.
about started because it wasn't until Live Aid that they just went poof through the roof, wasn't it? And that was
They were
that
quite- they-
84?
well,
I think they were quite big before.
No, they
weren't
were big
They were
before. They were
fairly big,
in
but-
the 70s, but yeah, they really made a comeback. They really did.
They went away for a
completely
bit,
come
didn't he?
back,
'Cause Freddie
yeah.
left for a bit, didn't he?
But
when he-
yeah,
when he came
they,
back?
he did a bit of solo stuff, but when they came back, yeah, certainly.
They
But
were,
what a showman! What a
Yeah,
showman!
I bet.
What a-
What a
Also,
showman.
very
Great
good,
experience.
very good storytellers in their songs as well. Like
Well, it's the same thing again.
it's more
it's the same
abstract,
stuff.
but it's
yeah.
like
yeah.
my favorite Queen song is "Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy," and I just love
Yeah,
it. But I love the cheekiness of it. Like only like someone like Freddie could write a song because it's just
Yeah.
if you read the lyrics and like you hum the melody, you're like, this is sickly sweet crap. But when you get Queen do it, Brian May's guitar, you're like that's banging.
Yeah,
It's
the
so
amount
good,
of
that stuff.
layers that Freddie puts over the top.
Well, I do fat bottom girls
Nice.
now and again. Not so much often. You get a few dirty looks from the ladies because
Oh, really?
it's a bit sexist, right? But it was of its time.
I
As
think
all these songs are.
I don't think it's sexist. I think it's isn't it appreciating girls with flat bottoms? Like,
Well, there you go. But
let's not get there. Let's not get there.
no, let's not get sexist anyway. But
Do you
Let's go to rats.
obviously, you've got a few originals.
Well,
that you're gonna
I
play.
literally, I've only been solo. I've been on my own from September of last year. I was in a band up till then. Up to that point, I was a lead singer. I couldn't play guitar. All I could do was sing. I was just a singer. So band folded sort of September, and I just started playing a little bit of guitar. Before then, I thought I better learn to play a bit of guitar. I'd always struggled to play guitar because I've got a duff hand. I had an accident when I was 21. I got stuck in a baling machine, agricultural baling machine, and nearly lost my arm. So I'd always struggled to play because I'm right-handed. So I was always struggling. Fingers don't until my fingers work properly. So I play bass right-handed because those two fingers work and I can bass.
You can bass with two fingers.
But I've taught myself left-handed, so I play left-handed.
amazing.
Oh, well done.
So and I've been probably 14, 15 months now playing.
And you're right. And obviously you write your
And
own
I
songs.
started writing probably about 18 months ago. I wrote my first song. One of the reasons why the band sort of things that I wanted to write a little bit. They just wanted to do covers, so it was a progression. It was
Yeah.
one
Well,
of those,
I'm all for it. I mean, I think everyone should write their own music, and I think
Or at least have the
I
opportunity
don't
to.
obviously I don't have a problem with cover. I don't have a problem with cover bands, but
No, I had some very good times doing covers, playing pubs, playing to empty seats as well, as you do.
we've all
But
done that.
I always wanted to write my own stuff and
Yeah.
perform my own stuff.
I just find there's something for me personally, like hearing something that someone's written themselves. It touches me in a way that hearing someone sing someone else's song never can. Because I know that someone's sat. Like, I write a lot of music, so I know the process. And I know it can be hard because I don't perform really songs I write about myself. They're for me. Like, so I'm not brave enough to do that. You know, a lot of the songs I write are about stuff rather than me. There are people who write songs like that, but it's just. I just find it really, even if someone's not like the best guitar player, the best singer, they've written their own music. I'm just like, look, that's amazing. That's such an amazing skill, and to get up and sing them, you know, like it takes a lot of courage.
I do. I've been booked. I started playing open mics this time last year with Anthony when Anthony was running up at the John Taylor.
Yeah.
And I could hardly play the guitar and. Well, I was concentrating on the guitar. The vocals went to crap, So it's been a long progression. It's been a long
year.
year.
It's not easy.
Well,
It's not easy in the
Really
slightest learning how to play guitar.
I think people think it's going to be easy, and it's just not.
Some people can pick it up a bit quicker than others,
Yeah.
but again, the fundamental piece about learning to play guitar is practice,
But
and more practice, repetition,
Yep.
and more repetition.
There's a difference between like learning to play guitar though, and then singing guitar and playing guitar. Obviously, is different again, another skill.
Yeah.
Singing and playing the guitar whilst singing songs you've written is another skill again, and then doing all that on stage, because when you get on stage, especially if you've not done it like play guitar on stage before, obviously you're used to singing on stage, but then that guitar adds that bit of pressure that you wouldn't have had before. So it's hard to do.
Being on your own.
Oh
puts
yeah,
pressure on you as well. I've been used to fronting a band, and you've people behind you. You cock up. Everybody covers for each other. When you're on your own, there's nobody there to cover your cock ups.
I only keep them around for company on stage. That's it.
But especially if we're doing like a couple of 45s, we had this little thing. We're that comfortable now. Well, we have been for quite some time that we just laugh at each other. And to be honest, I've watched back some of the live performances that we've done, and if you didn't know the songs, you wouldn't know about the mistake that the other person's just made. So you can tell, because we'll just turn around to each other in a little instrumental bit and giggle at each other.
It's always a good thing when you play your own stuff. Nobody knows whether you've cocked it.
Yeah.
I also think it's a musician thing where we concentrate. We're way more focused on the mistakes we make than anyone else in the audience would be.
Yeah.
Because it's our song, whatever we're playing it, we know that song, inside out. Yeah, suddenly you make a mistake and you're like, God, and then I made it, and then no one else noticed. No one cared. Everyone's enjoying the song. You're like, I can't miss that.
This is one thing I said when we first formed the band. This is going back about 4 or 5 years ago. I basically started off with a keyboardist, me and a keyboardist. We started together, and all we were doing, we were just going round. He was playing keys, I was singing. Obviously, with the keyboards that you got nowadays, you can mess about and put as much stuff as you want in it. So we started that, but he'd never been in a band before. I sung Barbershop for 6 years before that.
I sang Barbershop.
Loved Barbershop.
Who'd you sing with?
Northern Comfort.
Northern Comfort.
Yeah, I was Northern Comfort for 6 years. I sung with them.
Oh wow! What part did you sing? What part did you
lead.
sing? I was a lead as well.
Yeah,
I sang.
Lead, and then towards the end I used to do a little bit of bass. My voice is getting lower as I get older.
Sure.
But I also used to do a bit of the high stuff as well.
A bit of tenor.
A bit of tenor as well.
So I sang with Great Western Chorus for 7 years. Went to America with them. We won the British Championship, so we got to go to America.
Yeah, all right. Who did you sing with?
Great Western Chorus.
Great Western Chorus. I sung with Spirit Harmony.
Spirit Harmony, yeah.
I sung with them for 6 months.
Yeah.
I gave up. It was too intense.
Yeah,
it was awful.
Yeah. Northern Comfort on.
No, they're only small.
They're a bit more relaxed, smaller chorus.
They're only a smaller chorus.
So so obviously the one I was in was like even more intense than them.
Yeah.
So it was because we sang, we won, so we had to work. We worked really hard to do that. But so I sang the lead in that. But my wife is the director of Abbey Bell's chorus.
Oh, right, yeah.
That's my wife. She's the director.
My next door neighbour, Sue Lord.
Oh, Sue Lord.
She's my next door neighbour.
Your next door neighbour?
Yeah, she's my bang next door neighbour, yeah. She was the lady who got me to go to Northern Comfort.
My sister-in-law, my wife's sister, she lived in Sue's house when Sue was in Australia. Jamie. That's my sister-in-law.
Jamie and husband Alec, the American one.
They got a kid now.
Have they?
Quinn, yeah.
I haven't seen him since that. Yeah, we got to know him quite well. He did a bit of computer stuff for me, did that?
Oh, did he? That's my. He's a bit of a whiz kid, like. That's my sister-in-law and brother-in-law.
Ah, right, small world, you say. Everybody knows everybody, don't they?
Yeah. Look at that. Happy days. Right, let's talk about barbershop and sorry, Dodgy. Yeah. Kettles in the kitchen, mate.
I was thinking about that. I'm laughing a bit dry here.
But barbershop was a good way of me coming back into singing.
Yeah, definitely.
It was funny, and I did. So I was used to performing, and I filled in. They had a professional quartet who used to go do around and do bits and pieces rather than the full choir.
Yeah.
And I started filling in
Oh, okay, cool.
For the quartet, doing a bit of professional singing, quartetting,
amazing.
Leeds, opening in IT offices and God knows
Yeah,
what.
yeah. I've done
Stood in the corridor, singing that night. Right,
done
we've
some
done
of
it
them.
all once. Let's do it again.
Yeah. I did that at a shoe shop once in a quartet. We were saving up for convention to buy our own suits because my quartet had qualified and we had to go to the finals in I think it was Scarborough, and so we did a shoe shop opening. But we only had like 5 songs, and I mean, we were booked for 3 hours. We should have the same 5 songs for 3 hours.
It just gets over. But you get good practice.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. Yeah.
But that's it, at least, the people that you're playing to, take away the people that work in the place.
Oh, yeah.
Because they've got customers coming in and out.
Oh, it doesn't matter to them. Yeah, just
not one person isn't going to hear the same song twice. Which I think is quite good.
Do you still sing with Love and Comfort now?
No, I don't. There's 4 of them still. Unfortunately, I'm not nearly 25 years off the average age.
Oh yeah, it was definitely old.
Fellas. So
choir, yeah.
there's 4. I think there's 3 or 4 of them are still singing together now. But only I don't think they're doing it. It's certainly not doing concerts and bits and pieces. I think they're just singing for a bit of fun now. Unfortunately, there's quite a few of them that I sang with have either died or got dementia or and it's a shame really. But they taught me a lot about singing.
Oh yeah,
a lot about singing.
That's what I learned basically how to sing. Because I was saying in the podcast earlier, like, I remember when I got invited to an open evening, and I sung bands and very much like you, cover bands. I wrote my own music in a duet for a while, and my uncle was the lead sectional leader in Great Western Chorus, and he said, "Can you do me a favour and come to this open evening?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll come along." And I was kind of like, 18, storing all these old dudes. Like, I'm gonna wipe the floor with these old dudes, and I just after about 10 minutes, I was like, "This is so much harder than I thought it was gonna be." Like, they're so good because it's like a completely. I'd sung, but I'd never sung. I never learned about breathing. I never learned any of that stuff. I had to stand, like support. Didn't know any of it. No. I'd sung in like school choir.
It's very hard.
It is very hard. It really is.
I had to do an audition to get into Spirit Harmony. They won't let you in unless you sung scales, and they gave you a song to learn that you'd never seen before, and you had to sing it in front of the musical director and the secretary to get in.
Do you remember which song it was? Is it Heart of My Heart, My Darling? Or
no.
My Wild Irish Rose, the sweetest flower.
No, it wasn't Wild Irish Rose. I know that very well. That's ingrained on me. I'll never forget that.
This is a barbershop podcast now.
Yeah.
It is, isn't it?
I forget which one it was now, but I think I learnt it within 3 days. Went back and I sung it to them, and they go, "Oh, it's very nice, this, that, and the other." And then I said, "You do realise that that was my audition?" "All right, well, you can come in there." So they let me in, but I did 6 months with them. But it got to the point that because they were preparing for competition, and it was competition.
Oh yeah.
That's all they were bothered about.
Over and over again.
Competition. So you'd turn up, you'd practice. There'd be 50 of you all stood up on the stars, and you sung one duff note, and the musical director at that time, I can't remember her name, she'd stop the whole thing,
Sally.
point at you and say, "You just sung a duff note."
Sally McLean.
And that to me was very intimidating. It took all the fun out of it.
That's one of the reasons
I quit in the end.
That's the reasons I left was because of that. Because I couldn't hack doing it anymore. It was just too much.
It was too much perfection. It wasn't fun. But
it was like having a second job.
It was like being at school.
Yeah. But so how did you? What was I going to ask then? How did you go from like in the kind of like 80s stuff to doing the country type stuff?
Well, to what the stuff I'm writing now. Obviously, I'm interested in folk. As I've got older, I've folked.
Mellowed
out
a little bit.
Folked up.
We played.
Robs.
Was it about 4 years ago? We played. About 3.5-4 years ago, we played the Bell and Crown at Snaith.
Yeah.
And Chris Smiley had got us to go
Chris
in.
Smiley, shout out to Chris Smiley. Yeah.
He always comes up as Chris. He's
everywhere.
He wanted a few people to come in, so he got a few groups and bits and pieces. And we only just really sort of started up as a band. He said, "Oh, can you come and play? I've got an act on later on, but if you want to come in and do a few songs and bits and pieces." So we did these songs, and there was a folk singer called Edwina Hayes. I don't know whether you've heard of Edwina Hayes.
For some reason, that name rings a bell.
She's Brid way on, but she's in her own right. She's quite a famous singer-songwriter, folk singer-songwriter. And she stood and listened to us one day, and then she played afterwards. Well, I've never heard a voice like she's got a voice like an angel. and the guitar playing was absolutely superb. And I started thinking, I don't mind a bit of folk, actually. When you're introduced to folk from there, it's like a different, because I'd never really thought much about folk before. So I've sort of followed her a little bit. In fact, she played at Sherburn about 3 weeks ago, in one of the halls over at Sherburn. It was Yorkshire or whatever pushing it, the Arts Foundation or something, and they'd asked her to come and play there. So I went and played.
Where in Sherburn? Where?
At the old girls' school. It's on the it'd be on Leeds Road. As you go straight over the traffic lights at Sherburn, it's on the right hand side. It's community hall.
Near where the old Squires Cafe Bar used to be.
Yes, it's just a bit further down from where Squires
I know what you
used to
mean.
be.
Sorry, 'cause I live in Sherburn. I'm just trying to picture where you were meaning that. I'm just like, I'm not. The only places I've seen do gigs and that is at the local pubs. But
yeah. Well,
don't really go out in Sherburn.
I've played Sherburn as well, so there you go. I've done Oddfellows. We did that as a band a few times as well.
The Oddfellows, yeah.
Maggie, landlady.
Just down the road from Tesco.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't realise they did live music. So I know the Swan right on the traffic light.
Yes, they do,
have live bands every now and again.
Never
but
played
mainly just cover bands and stuff. So.
Never played there, but we played the Oddfellows a few times. I got to know Maggie because we used to practice in Sherburn Church Hall for the barbershop every week.
Yeah.
And when we couldn't have that if it was taken, we used to go sing in the pub, practice in the pub, and then she'd give us chips and a pint for nothing, you see, nice. So for entertaining. So that's how I got to know Maggie. Well, Maggie's one of the big organisers of the food festival now, as it stands now, the Sherburn Food and Art Festival, whatever it is.
Not the thing that happens on the August bank holiday. Yes,
the August bank holiday, yeah.
Oh, because I've tried getting into that because they have a trailer.
Yes, they do. Yes,
and they have like loads of live music going on. Because I hear it sometimes if I'm not doing anything, I can just hear it.
They have a proper professional stage put up, but they haven't done it. I don't know whether they did it this year or not. Anyway, we played it before lockdown. We played the year before the first lockdown, and we finish it? I think we finished it on the Saturday afternoon, which was quite, to stand up on a massive, great big stage, because normally you don't play on stages. You know, that's about the highest stage you ever get in a pub, isn't it?
I love
to go on that stage, and it was like looking around. There was just four of us, and this all swamped in this massive, great big stage, and a sound engineer to set it all up for you and do it off. And it's like, my God,
you're like a proper rock star, don't you?
I could live with this. Well, short-lived.
But, hey, enjoy the moment while it's there.
Back to the folk bit. You were saying about the lady who was playing.
Yeah, Edwina. Obviously, I've bought her CDs. Really got it. I mean, she does covers of Richard Thompson and covers of quite a lot of folk singers. She's a big Bob Dylan freak. Absolutely does all these songs in her own style. But she puts a twist on them. I'm not a big Bob Dylan fan. I love his music. Don't particularly want to go see him. He's not my cup of tea.
My brother was a big fan. Went to see him and was like, loved. Obviously, it was a bit later on. He was obviously much older. He said he really enjoyed seeing him, but he just couldn't sing anymore. So musically, it was crap. It was great to see him, but just, it was like, wow, that's Bob Dylan. Kind of like what you're saying about Freddie Mercury and Queen,
Yeah.
Wow, it's Bob Dylan, but like, because he was probably in his 60s at that point, and he was never like, oh, great singer.
No.
Like, but again, he's a storyteller.
He is. I love his songs. I do some of his songs.
Oh, supreme! Fantastic songwriter.
I'll plagiarise his stuff all the time because they're good songs. Even I've just started recently doing an absolute stupid one, which is a nursery rhyme. Froggy went a courting. I don't know if you've ever heard it. and it's a nursery rhyme that originally was written in Scotland. The Americans pinched it, and then Bob Dylan wrote the song for it. So it was a kid's nursery rhyme. And it just goes on. It's nonsense. Absolute nonsense. It just goes on and on and on. It's about him marrying a mouse, and it goes on and on. But it's absolutely fun. And audiences actually sit and listen to it. But it's just a very repetitive thing. It just goes over and over. Bit of cheese. I don't mind a bit of cheese. If audiences listen to you, I'll do cheese.
I don't have an issue with cheese particularly. I don't think I do any. We do. Girls want to have fun, don't we? Which is
the thing is, that
I guess
it's
you got
hard.
some cheese.
I mean, the way we approach sort of cover songs, even though we don't do that many, we sort of like we pick them very meticulously.
Yeah.
Because it's like people have to know it. If you're going to do a cover song, in our eyes, everybody's different, I suppose, but in our eyes, it's like people are going to know it within the first few lines of you singing it. But we do it differently as well.
There's a raft of Radiohead songs that I'd love to do, but most people would never know because I'm a big Radiohead fan.
Yeah,
so I know I know like every Radiohead song, and there's like all my favorite ones aren't the popular ones. I don't it's not Creep or whatever.
Which does. I mean, every time
people.
somebody does it, I think, oh god, they're going to do it, and then they get halfway through the song, and I'm singing along. You can't help yourself.
That's not. It's not a bad song, but my point is that like. I wouldn't, even though I want to do those songs because I love them, I wouldn't do them because I know people wouldn't know them. So
It depends on the younger age group now. It's surprising how much they know. You think they'll never heard of this song, and you'll do an 80s song and they'll know it straight off and they'll start singing along to it. It's.
I think YouTube, Netflix, that kind of stuff is all. Everything's available, So eventually,
anything can be discoverable.
Adverts are a very good thing.
Adverts
as well.
are a great
Adverts
thing for that.
bring songs back to life.
Well, we've done for years. In fact, it was the first song we did together. I think cover at least. Kate Bush, Running Up That Hill. We did that for years and years, and obviously because it was on Stranger Things recently,
Yeah, because
we're like shit. Well, I was like shit. Everyone's gonna start doing it again. Everyone was like, I'm gonna just cover everything.
But nobody does it like how we do it. It's like ridiculous tuning on the guitar. So I do like lots of little picking. Rich does some nice lead over the back, and then it just sort of goes off towards the end. So I'll still play our version. Simply because it's different and it's not
even though I've been in a covers band, the band that I was in, we had lead vocals from male and female. So, and there isn't many bands that you get a male singer and a female singer doing harmonies together. So it was quite unique, and we never did covers how they were done. We did our own, own stamp on them because. Everybody knows them. Everybody knows the song. But if you can just put some different harmonies in and and sing it in a different way,
well,
it just makes such a big difference.
I'm massive on the harmonies, as you know. But
I mean, any covers that I do on my own now as a solo, I put my own stamp on them. I do them my own way. I don't do them.
That's the way it should be. It's like you got to do something different, Otherwise, you might as well put the record on.
Well, that's it. Yeah, you might as well just sit and listen to a jukebox.
How would you? So, what are your influences for writing? Like, do you? I mean, if you're talking about Bob Dylan, do you write in that kind of style, or?
No, not really. It's very difficult to say. I knew you'd ask this. How do you write stuff?
It's because I ask everyone. That's why.
I've been thinking about this for about 3 or 4 days, and it's just really it's stuff that pops into my head.
Yeah.
I have no fixed way of doing it. I'll wake up at 2:00 in the morning, and there'll be a song in my head going round and round and round, and I'll have to get up and write it down because by the time I get up in the morning, it's gone, and you can't remember what the hell you've been thinking of.
We were just saying the same thing in the last podcast with Bell. Like, I've got just rafts of bits of whistling and humming into middle of the night. Don't want to wake the wife up, just so I don't forget. The reason I ask everyone is because I find it interesting that there is maybe it's not a misconception, but a conception from people who don't write songs. The conception is that there's a certain way of doing it, but everyone you speak to says the same thing. I might have some lyrics or some music, and I write there's no. It's more for the people who don't write songs, because I'm the same. I don't have a way of writing. I don't sit down and write. I just write. So it comes to me, I write.
Yeah. Some of the stuff that I've done, I'll have written a couple of verses out and then put a bit of music to it.
Yeah.
Obviously, because I'm very new to writing music and playing music rather than just stand there and singing it, it's been a learning curve for me as well. Obviously, the songs that I write are fairly on the simple, keep to your 4 chords and things, but just put different songs. So stuff comes into my head, but a chorus might come into my head, and then I will write words to the music. or it can be the other way around. There's no
exactly
set way that it's anything's come to me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's kind of the point I was trying to get across to everyone is that like I just to get rid of this kind of idea that there, because some people I think I'm trying to get more to the younger people who are maybe dicking about in their bedrooms and are a bit scared of writing. Like, oh, I need to sit and write. Like, you don't need to wait for the inspiration to come or
you can put too much.
Mess around until something happens. You know, just mess around.
It can come from anywhere. Sometimes some of my favourite songs that we do have just come from the places where you don't think they're going to come from. Like walking through a field. Oh, I've just seen this big oak tree where it's got all patches of grass, like where all like the animals and everything have just gone underneath this tree to shelter from the rain and everything. Oh, write a couple of lines down. Oh, write a couple more lines down and then get it back, and then it can come from anywhere.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff I've written. Some of the songs that I've written are from pure experience. Play, right from the heart. Some's from the head, some's from the heart. Some's just basic ideas. A song which I think you're going to ask me to do one tonight.
We are.
Yes.
The song I'm going to do tonight was basically inspired from Bridlington and Whitby.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And it's more of probably a sea shanty come.
Oh, I love a bit of a sea shanty.
Come folk. It's a strange, very strange song, but it came to me very easily, very quickly.
Again, that was an inspiration. The inspiration from all walks. Sometimes you can, don't you find you can take like 2-3 weeks or 2-3 months to sort of like try and finish a song, and then like you say, that there's the times when they just sort of like come so easy, and within a few days or a couple of weeks, you've got a finished song.
Yeah, I've been obviously just started writing over the last 12 months. And I had a run of basically ideas, get up, write it down, go back to bed again, get up the next day, write the bulk of it, finish it off the day after, 3 days, it's done, finished, and that's it. And you tweak it as you go along. I've been doing it. I slip a lot of mine in on open mic nights. I'll admit it. Put 2 or 3 of my own in.
I think
it's somewhere to express it.
That is one of the really good things about the open mic nights. I know we're doing this focused around like original music, but one of the really good things about the open mic nights, it is a really good opportunity to go out and play something that you've only just written, and you're, even if you're a little bit unsure about it, I think open mics are a really good place to. Obviously you got to start somewhere with it.
Yeah. I think people are starting to get to know some of my songs.
Yeah, exactly.
I played at the Saddle on Tuesday night, open mic night at Fulford on Tuesday night.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lady there. Her boyfriend, he plays. He's an old chap, like he does country. He's proper country old fella, like he plays. And Mike Collinson plays with him as well. And
Mike Collinson again. He gets about a bit. Shout out to Mike Collinson again.
Well, because they're doing a jolly now, you see, as well.
He's basically a whore.
He's a music whore.
Basically what he is.
Yeah. And this lady, she sits. I mean, she's a retirement age and one thing, and she nearly sung my song word for word on Tuesday night. And when I said, "All right, I'm going to do this one," she clapped. Oh yeah, that one. Like, good God, I have got one fan.
I like it. I think it is nice when people sing your songs back to you. It's a different buzz. I like what I was going to say about open mics is that I think it's also, I find it a good place to like take the temperature in the room about a song as well. If I've written a new song, I'm not sure about it. Like, I'll just play it and just because you can just tell when people are, if they're into it. Or you just pay attention. You can tell people are into it or not. You know, if people are drifting off, you're like, maybe this isn't the one. Or you can go, maybe this is, you know. So I find them useful. I just can't bear like 3 hours of my life to play 3 songs. I just can't.
No.
I just can't do it. I just can't do it to myself. I'm just like, because I just want to play more. I'm a whore.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, then again, it's one of those where
I want to play every song.
If it wasn't for open mics, a lot of the opportunities that have come our way wouldn't have happened.
But it is they are a good starting point. That's why, like, especially in the comedy world, it's not so much like in the music world, but it's the same thing. Like in the comedy world, like when you start out, you're an open micer because you go to open mic and you do a few minutes here and there, and then you build up to, and then you get past that, and then you become a whatever, blah blah blah. But like, it is a really good starting point to get out. And I think it's good to hear people doing, like, I know that's what I liked when we saw you at the Crown. Jolly Sailor. About open mic, Jolly Sailor. You did your own songs, and it was I think you did one of your own songs.
And obviously, when I first started doing the open mics, I didn't do my own stuff. You try to do crowd pleasers, and then in the end, I get to the point. It's like I'm thinking, no, I'm not doing this anymore.
Because if I was
I'll do my own, and if they don't like it, things, but it'll grow on them.
If I was in the crowd, I'd be part of the crowd, and I'd be way more pleased if you did an original than a thing.
Yeah.
So,
But I always find as well, you turn up at an open mic night, and there's 18 acts there to go up, and you're thinking, so you get 3 songs to do. I much prefer it when it's a lot quieter, and then you do
7.
Can you do 4? And then do you mind getting back up and doing another 4 later on? And because it's like, I can do it better. Can I get back up?
But then the beauty of that is the more people that are there for the open mic, you've got more of an audience.
Well, that's
like a better time to play your own.
You do end up playing to musicians a lot of these open mic nights. It's fellow musicians. One thing I would say about being in a band for 4 or 5 years, didn't really get to meet a lot of people or a lot of other musicians, because you play a gig, there's nobody else there, all there is the audience in a pub and one thing. So you never really get to meet a lot of fellow musicians or other bands or other acts and one thing or another. So I've found since finishing with the band, and I've forced myself to learn to play guitar, not forced myself to write, but I've started writing and keep going out, you meet such a variety of people. I have met, I think I've probably gained about 30, 40 friends in a year just going through open mic nights.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it be up at York or whether it be in Selby at Final Whistle, the Black Swan. I mean, they're all my local pubs, Black Swan, Jolly. Open mic nights every month, so you go there.
It's a really good way of meeting people.
And that's the beauty of what we're trying to do as well. Very similar. It's kind of like we're trying to obviously create a network and create a bit of a scene, really. It's just like focused around original music, and everybody that's come has kind of like talked to each other. They've never the artists haven't seen each other before. And they end up talking, networking, and obviously it's all about helping each other out.
You get a bit of it. I mean, I'm just talking about Michael. I mean, they started doing the Jolly.
That's slag.
But he has helped me out.
He's a brilliant musician.
I've only just started. I've started using a vocalizer pedal, harmony pedal, and using a pedal for the guitar as well, and it's like, which order do you put him in? It's like, ask Michael, he'll tell you which order to put him in. Because he's into his gadget, his 10,000 million pedals and his machine, his looping machine.
He's an unbelievably great guitarist as well.
Yes, he is very good.
And a good singer, he does a lot of solo stuff as well. And obviously mentioned him in the last podcast because he plays with
Becky, with
Bella. Not Bella, Bell.
With Bell, he's played with Bell, but he on a regular basis with Becky Styles.
Is that the Lights duo?
That's the TaylorMade duo.
Oh, TaylorMade duo, right, gotcha.
Duo, yeah, he plays. He doesn't just play in that.
He plays
I don't know what. I haven't even learned what he plays. Who else he plays with yet? So. Well.
Anyway,
but if he loves
moving
it,
on,
then,
can we not make another podcast about Michael Collinson, please?
Sorry, shout out to Michael Collinson. Cheers, mate.
This isn't the Michael Collinson. It's the Centre Stage podcast. All we're doing is promoting Michael Collinson. That's all we're doing. I'm just playing Michael. I was going to say, I still haven't got to the bottom of why you went from your 80s music and stuff to writing like country stuff.
I think because country stuff's quite easy to write, or easier.
That's funny. That's what Bell said as well.
To write, and certainly folk is very easy. Depends what folk you want. I mean, they're called barbershop folk.
Yeah, it's not really.
It's not what I would call folk, but
no, it's not.
It is classed as folk as such. So
you did get to enter folk competitions based on singing barbershop. We'd enter folk festivals.
Competitions
and
stuff like that. So that's really why I go. Not only because I like it, but I find it quite easy writing in that genre, if you get what I mean. Yeah. You can use some Americanisms. I like Americanisms.
Yeah, you like Americanisms.
Yeah, they're easy to put in. They're easier than doing posh English stuff.
Yeah.
Put Americanisms.
I was like I'm into I'm not really into country, but if there was any country I'd listen to, it'd be like the old school country. I like a lot of the outlaw country stuff because it's like just drunk dudes on whiskey talking about like their relationships and the kind of like that deep South American twang to their voice and stuff. It's great.
So I love having arguments with the computer because you write it how you write it, and it's Americanism, and my computer says, no, you can't write things like that. So yeah, I have a few busts up with the computer now and again.
So what have you got on at the moment then, in terms of like obviously songs, original songs? Because last time we spoke, you said you've got a few. I've got five. I've got about half a dozen of my own original songs.
Amazing.
Which bulk of them I do out. Swap them round and I do my open mics. And then add covers in to make up a set and bits and pieces. So that's that's basically. But I've sort of spent a long time writing over the last 12 months and trying to learn guitar better. Trying to sing better, performance wise, and one thing and another. So I really haven't written much in the last 2 or 3 months. I've sort of had a spurt of writing about 4 or 5 songs in a row, and then just sort of ground to halt and just concentrated on doing them. And I've a bit of a block at the moment. Just I've got
everybody goes.
I've got a song on my mind. It's been on these and bits and pieces of it, and I know what I want to do with it and how I want to do it. And it's been at the back of my mind for a month now. But it ain't coming out.
Well, we can't wait to hear the originals on centre stage next Friday. That's gonna be
awesome. Well, thank you very much.
We always ask everyone this question at the end. So it's if you were stranded on a desert island with any musician, they can be dead or alive, doesn't matter, and it was for forever.
Or the rest of your days.
All the rest of your days. Which musician would it be?
And why?
And why, yeah.
Singer or musician?
Well, whatever.
It can be anybody.
Not anybody. It's got to be music related.
Well,
yeah, I suppose music related.
Yeah, we've had some really cool answers.
Music related, otherwise I wouldn't want to stop on on my own. There's many singers, musicians, and all that I would do. But
it can be one.
Do you know?
You only get one pick.
It might be cheesy. Tony Hadley.
Tony Hadley.
Yeah.
Because of his singing, his
Tony
voice.
Hadley is? I know Tony Hadley is.
Just checking.
Just checking. Right?
Yeah.
Do
you know that was the first gig I ever heard was Spandy Ballet because my mum went to see them when she was pregnant with me.
Oh, right.
So you heard them. So I heard them. Well, I don't know if that's true or not. But I say it anyway because it sounds cool. But yeah, Tony Hadley, interesting. I don't think I would have.
Because then he could teach me how to sing properly.
Yeah, he's got a great voice to be fair.
And plus, on top of that, he drinks brandy all the way through his singing. So.
Oh well, that's fine. He's just getting hammered with it.
Nothing wrong with that.
Graham, that's awesome. Thank you very much for coming and doing the podcast with us, mate. We really appreciate it. Can't wait to hear your songs.
Yes.
What song are you gonna play for us? The sea shanty.
I'm gonna play you a song called "The Captain."
The Captain. Awesome. We're gonna get set up and then we'll hear it soon. Thanks very much, mate.
Thanks, Graham.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Buddy.